PR. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Looking Salam is asking for meeting passcode.
It's there in the text or in the email.
What is it?
It's there in the text or in the email.
It's brother, I don't have it. It's not in here for me.
Um, hold on one second. It's there in the email. That's what I was trying to say to you. Let me see. It is one second. Um, okay, come on. Okay. Let me go back over here. All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
246
Wait, 2, 4, 6,
360.
3, 6, 0. And then we hit join meeting. Enter meeting passcode. That's not the passcode. Passcode was incorrect. Please try again.
No, that's what it says. The security passcode. That's what it says. Are you on your computer? Or are you on your phone?
I'm on my computer.
Now that's not making sense. Hold on, brother.
2, 6. What's the last three?
360.
3, 6, 0. Nope. Let me try it again. Let me cancel that.
Okay.
Go right back to Zoom.
1 second.
And I'm gonna hit join. What is the meeting ID?
1 second, brother. 1 second. Hold on. I am sending you this right here. I'm sending it to your text.
Oh, okay.
1 second. Where are you at, brother James? Wait a minute. Now you're supposed to be in here. Okay. There you are. All right. Click on that because I just did it on my phone and it went right in. Click on that one.
No, that's my phone. I can get in through the phone, but I can't get on my computer.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I just pushed join and I'm in right now.
And remember last time you had the opposite problem.
Yeah. No, it's the same problem. I couldn't get in on my computer at first.
Are
The
you
phone automatically lets me in.
are you in now?
Yeah, I'm sitting down, but I need to be able to use my computer.
Okay. 1 second. Uh Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum
Uh,
salam.
off of your phone, just because we're getting ready to start, it's 7 p.m. You want to go on right now, good brother, off of your phone, okay? You hear me, brother James?
See if I can just load in the knowledge broker and see if I can get it like that.
All right, I'm hanging the phone up.
This one through YouTube.
Did you have any problem coming in, either one of you? No?
No.
No, sir.
Did you get a chance to send out to anyone, brother Lukman?
Mhm.
Sir?
Yeah, I sent it out on my email list.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I'm trying to do that right now, sir.
Yes, sir. Sister Jordan, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, brothers. Happy Holy Day of Atonement.
Happy.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Happy.
Hmm.
Okay. So we are supposed to start on time. Did Brother James log out? He did. Okay. All right. We're gonna give Brother James a couple minutes. He could log in on his phone, but he said he couldn't log in on the computer. Did
Were
you
you
log?
able to figure out how to get to
Yes.
your Zoom link?
Yes. And I did that. I got on the phone with Zoom. Now this is 4 times. So I was able to do that and make that happen. Um, and I was, it worked because he just like me and you had showed me in regards to making sure, that I'm able to enable the chat.
Brother, quick question. Was there anything scheduled at Mas Mariam today?
Hmm, I'm not sure. Brother James, is he on? Uh, I don't know. Was there something scheduled at Mas Mariam?
I'm looking up now just to be on the safe side.
Oh, you talking about a believers meeting?
No, I'm talking about if they had a function at Mas Mariam for the Day of Atonement.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I don't see anything there. There was something going on from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Hmm, okay.
And it's still 6 p.m. Central Time right now.
Yep. So, and if they went overtime, or if they're going overtime, then it might reflect on who's coming out tonight. I didn't even think of that to just now.
Sister Nia just called me and she didn't mention anything. She was making sure we were on at 7.
Yeah, but I just got to home, Brother Whitehead. I just sent him the link.
Okay. I sent it to him. Maybe just he didn't see it. It's okay. You guys are ready to begin prayer? Brother Lugman?
I guess so. I'm just hoping we're
You
not.
need a couple minutes?
Yeah, because I don't know if we're going to be overlapping with what's going on in Chicago, brother. I don't want to step on nobody's toes.
Sister Nia would know, wouldn't she?
Sure.
Yeah. You may want to text her and ask.
Um, uh, Platform, the LTS network, those of us as team members bring our unique perspectives from the experience or endeavors that we are most familiar and accustomed with or experts in. I, coming from the medical realm and being an electrician, that's the scope of my insights in the perspective of being a physician as well as having been an electrician. So this particular question, value of a believer, in both arenas of medicine and electricity, there are a number of calculations and formula that have to be understood and manipulated or utilized to arrive at certain conclusions through the use of numbers. And value is another way, or a mathematical way of saying numeral or number. So a value of a believer could be looked at from the point of what Brother Lukeman was saying, a component, a quantity necessary for the building or input into the calculation to arrive at the conclusion. As our teachings have taught us, there was a point where Master Fard Muhammad told the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that, and I'm paraphrasing it from what I can recall, if no one else remembered believed, he could take the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and from those two, he could produce the universe that he wants to make. The messenger said, well, if you're going to kill them, don't omit me. I want to die with them as well. And so that value, you need the component quantitative numbers to work into your calculations to arrive at the conclusions and structures that you are building and developing. So that value of a believer, to echo Brother Lukeman's word, invaluable because they are the necessary components for the calculations.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. Brother James.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, and happy Day of Atonement to everyone out there. The value of the believer. They both stated, Brother Dr. Wadu and Brother Lukman, the believer is actually invaluable. You can't put a price on the believer. The believer is so important. Master Farad Muhammad said he would climb a mountain 40 miles high just to teach one. We know it's no mountains on the earth 40 miles high. Mount Everest is the tallest mountain at that time. It's 41,191 feet high. So imagine a mountain 40 miles high. It's over 200, well over 200,000 feet. That's just to teach one. Master Farad Muhammad saw us so valuable that he left his place in the east and came to the west to get us. How did he know we were here? When our people went back and settled Liberia, and, because they'd wondered when we were leaving Africa, being kidnapped, where are they going? They didn't know where we were going. Mother Tarnetta said Master Farad Muhammad was told by a bird where we were at.
That's right.
He remember, he speaks the language of the bird. So a bird told Master Farad Muhammad where we were at here in America. Just to give an idea of value, the messenger, when he was talking about the value of Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he told him, he said, brother, you are more valuable to me than a truckload of diamonds and gold. Then another time he told him, he said, brother, you are more valuable to me than 1,000 airplanes with 1,000 head of sheep on each airplane. So imagine the cost of the plane and 1,000 sheep on each plane. Then he told the minister, brother, you are more valuable to me than all the wealth in the earth. Because when I came, I met the wealth. And when I leave, The wealth will still be here, but through you, I will get all of my people. So the value of the believer is to help the minister in the mission. It had to get to a point in what chemistry called critical mass. In order to do certain experiments, you have to get to a certain level on a different experiment. Then you can move forward with that because it's reached critical mass. And that's how the believer is in this mission. Every believer was personally handpicked and selected over 78 trillion years ago. You know, imagine, excuse me. This is a result of the medication I take. It makes me burp a lot of times. Imagine building a Rolls Royce, and they say, "Oh, Rolls Royce is valuable because it's built by hand and it's engineered, and some of them may take a year or a year and a half to build." Okay, let's build a Rolls Royce. Imagine building a 787 or a 747. How long does that take? A couple of years. Now imagine building an aircraft carrier. How many years to build an aircraft carrier? 10 years? 11 years? Okay, that's something. Imagine building a perfect human being. 78 trillion years?
That's right.
None of these material things even come in comparison when you're talking about building a human being.
Go ahead.
It took every human being in the nation, every believer. Not only was Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the mind of the first God, but every believer in the nation, you too were in the mind of the first God. So it took 78 trillion years to produce the believer that it is today. So how valuable are we to God and the mission? You know, naturally, these cave people, part of their job was to destroy the value by feeding us with a bunch of lies, because that's the only way they could have ruled us. They couldn't rule us in truth, because if we knew the truth of their beginning, as Honorable Elijah Muhammad came and taught us that truth, and the truth of how they lived in those caves for 2,000 years. Imagine living in a cave, eating your food raw, not burying your dead, eating your dead even, not knowing the use of fire, you know, oh God. And they were in bad shape. Moses came and had to teach them. Remember, white folks used to have sex in the caves with the dead bodies. Moses had to teach them. They were so savage. They were running around on all fours like animals. Moses had to take and put a damn board in their back and a board up their front, and the board in the front stopped at the tip of the chin. And with it stopping at the tip of the chin, it made them, force them to walk upright. And Moses wrapped vines around their waist. They had a board in their back and they had a board in the front. And he also they were so savage that they ate like animals. They did not take their food and put it in their mouth with their hands straight forward. They would grab, say, a handful of berries, and they'd grab them and they would pull them from one side to the other, and whatever landed in the mouth landed in the mouth. So imagine dragging a handful of berries across your face, left or right, and the berries that land in your face, they're the ones that get in your mouth. Moses took and tied thorns around their wrist so they couldn't drag it across their face, because the thorns would cut them. So they were forced to eat by putting the food in a certain way. Oh man, if you knew the history of these people, you know, white folks but they were valuable to us with the lessons that they taught us and what they put us through so we could become the gods. But black people, all black people, no, regardless, Christian, Muslim, Jew, agnostic, Rasta, whatever you, a Buddhist, whatever you consider yourself, you're all valuable to God. And I yield.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. When beloved believers that are on the line listening, we have something in mathematics called a gradient. A gradient is a gradual change or a transition between two or more values. It can also refer to the rate of change of a function. To the LTS team, starting with you, Brother Lukman. What is Allah's function to this universe, and what is Allah's function to man?
The first thing we have to do is make sure everyone understands what a function is. To try to explain it real quickly, a function is a specific type of an equation where for everything you input into it, you're only going to get one output. Um, when you look at it from the perspective of a gradient, a step-by-step process, I think one of the best ways to explain that gradient aspect of your question comes from study guide number 2, um, Building Human Potential. And one of the questions that the is posed in that, I want to say it's question number 2, I believe it speaks about the bird pecking its way out of the shell. And it says, what is the next thing that after the bird gets out of the shell, what's the next trial? Or what's the next thing the bird has to do? So pecking out of the shell is a good way to a good illustration of learning on a gradient. Because if you're pecking on the shell, you're hitting something gradually, piece by piece, little by little. And you're grasping small, like the minister said, you're grasping small little truths. And then as you're grasping small little truths, you are building your understanding. And then you go to the next level to learn more truths, but you're doing it degree by degree by degree. I want to say that is one of the reasons why, as Muslims, we're afraid of mathematics.
Yes, sir.
We spoke about this earlier, but this has just popped in my head just now. We have a problem book. And it says that the problem book is designed to teach us about our miserable condition in a mathematical way. That in and of itself there should be an understanding there that if we're not studying anything else, we need to be studying mathematics. And unfortunately, and this is just generally speaking, we suffer from these what I call mathematical engrams. We have a fear of mathematics. And since mathematics is at the root of biology and chemistry, um, mathematics is heavy into medicine. Um, the one thing that pops in my head, Brother Wadu, is when you're studying cardiology, you have to study those intervals on the EKG. Lots of mathematics. The enemy has placed within us a fear of mathematics. And if we are a people that are of a high civilization, I mean, just imagine we gave one group of people one book of mathematics. Our people have 59,999 other books of mathematics that we haven't even seen yet. How can we reintegrate back into our family? that has such a high level of mathematics, and we're not even applying our mind to what we call the kindergarten of mathematics. Really, when you look at trigonometry and calculus, these are all the kindergarten levels of mathematics in
Mm-hmm.
regards to our original people. That's kindergarten mathematics. Algebra would be like, I almost want to say pre-K mathematics. But this enemy has done a great job on us. And what we have to understand is that we have the ability to learn the highest levels of mathematics that this world has to offer, but we have to do it on a gradient scale. We got to do it on a step-by-step process. But let me address the one thing on function real quick, because with a function, you take an equation, you input a number, you get some type of an output, correct?
Yes, sir.
See, each one of us on this Zoom meeting, we represent a unique equation in God's math book. We all have the same input, meaning we all have the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. We have the teachings as given by his number one student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
So if we are just repeating what other people are saying, we're not living according to our function.
Good point.
When we listen to Sister Ava and Brother Jabril and Brother Nuri and Brother Abdul Malik Saeed, when we look at all the great students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we can tell that they all have gotten the water from the same source. They have the same input. But each student produces an output based on their function.
Yes, sir.
We do ourselves a disservice if we merely just repeat what other people are saying,
Mm.
because that's not our function. I believe that as the minister's first assignment was take the teachings, take what I say, and put it in the fine language that you know. I believe that that would be the same for us. Everyone on the Zoom meeting here has their own unique background, their own unique educational level. And we might think that we chose these academic backgrounds, but I believe it was Allah who guided us like chess pieces into the various places that we are academically, because he was building a mother plane on another level. And that you and I have to live according to our function, study the teachings, and in the words of the minister, we have to look at all the jewels that Allah is showing us individually. And as we come in contact with that unique teaching, I believe that Allah is teaching each one of us individually and independently to put together something bigger than ourselves. But we have to begin to appreciate ourselves, love ourselves, and look at our individual gifts as something unique that no other person on the planet can provide. And I think when we can start doing that, we'll come face to face with the God that is who we really are. And I yield.
All praise to that was beautiful. Brother Dr. Watt, dude, do you want me to repeat the question, sir?
Um, I have it here. So, what is Allah's function to the universe, and what is Allah's function to man? So, knowing that the English language is a derivative, and I choose my words carefully because of their connection to the conversation and the discussion. So, English being a derivative of various other languages, Greek, Latin, French, what have you, that therefore the nuances and the differences or variations of meaning of any particular term can become applicable. So I looked at the word function as a verb, which is an action word in English. And that action of function being work, being to behave, be in action, do duty, and mission. And so, with that definition, or with that particular context of definitions for the word function, combining it with the word gradient, in my math training of differential calculus, which uses a lot of derivations or derivatives, time is a necessary component of the calculation when using differential calculus. When looking at gradients, different dynamics are happening at different moments of time, but the continuum or totality of time gives us a single picture or conclusion. For instance, we can measure the start of some action or event and assign it on the gradient scale times 0. At this point, this is time 0. We're starting to introduce or do something different. This is time 0. At time 0, here's what's happened. And we can take note of that. Now, depending on when the event was, whether the event was an accelerating or a depressive activity, in medicine, I would use the words agonist or inhibitory, which means the same dynamics conceptually of acceleration or deceleration, in that an agonist is something that gets something started and an inhibitor is something that blocks or keeps something from taking place. The inhibitory agent, as I said, would cause something to decelerate or be blocked. I can use examples of heart rate and adrenaline, which would act as an agonist. It would cause the heart rate to accelerate and beat faster. Or I could talk about a beta blocker, which is an inhibitory chemical that slows heart rate. Now, when the factor in time, I introduce the beta blocker at time 0, I take note of what happens. At time 30 seconds, it looks different than it did at time 0. And at time 75 seconds, it will look different than it did at time 30 seconds. Yet the different intervals give gradient pictures, snapshots of each time point, that when I combine them, they'll give me a full single EKG reading of what the heart was doing over the course of that time span, with different segments, 0 to 30 seconds, 30 to 75 seconds, etc. But the totality, if I said a whole full 90 seconds of time, I can see things from 0 to 90 seconds. That's the whole picture, but there were gradients of events happening along the way.
Good teaching.
Pertaining to our teachings, knowing math, our fathers, and now Master Fard, knowing our fathers being our ancient ancestors, our fathers in present time, Master Fard Muhammad with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, can write the future from the calculations of what will be in the year 2011. That's a times a gradient. 2024, some other events are there. 2052, 3010, etc. So they have these different increments of time when different events that they know will occur during those times, but the overall picture gives them the ability to see the overall arc of what the full picture will be based on these different things happening at these different time increments along the way. Lastly, and at each time point, the events contribute to the overall outcome, as I just said. Now, what is the function of Allah? Well, in hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Divine Destruction of America message, the minister identified the need for calculating time and who the principal people are in helping to calculate that time. And just as a quick side note, we know that the minister gave a lecture series entitled The Time and What Must Be Done. And I'm emphasizing that word time, following from what I've heard from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I would offer that there are multiple functions that Allah's duty and mission to the universe is, but we know that the originator destined for his universe to be perfect. The brown germ and its products are of functions of imperfection. So that will get done away with, as we know. He will make all things new. His function to us, original man and woman, is to give us a chance of being a part of the new and not go down with the imperfect. I yield my time. Thank you.
Can I make a quick statement, Brother Ibrahim?
Yes, sir.
I want to say, Brother Wadud, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And what people, for the rest of us to understand that when you're dealing with what's called differential equations, which is considered to be calculus 4, that's considered almost like the kryptonite of calculus. That's the level of calculus that will make or break you. And the fact that you spoke about it so smoothly, brother Doctor, I just want to say I really, really enjoyed that.
All praise is due to Allah.
Yes, sir. I was glued on the differential equations, brother.
I had you at time in the integral.
Yes, sir.
Brother Dr. Wadud, that was brilliant. We appreciate you, and we see your value.
All praise is due to Allah.
Yes,
Praise be to Allah.
all praise. Brother James, sir, would you like me to repeat that question?
Yes, please.
What is Allah's function to the universe, and what is Allah's function to man?
Allah's main function to the universe, he's the one who regulates and controls the universe. He's the one who brought the universe into existence. He is the author of the universe, just like he is the author of our lives. And if he's the author of it, he knows our divine purpose. He knows his reason for creating us and his reason for creating the universe. And like Brother Dr. Wadu said, it was to make everything perfect, because the first God was not perfect, but he desired perfection. And he brought about perfection in a being that's called Master Farad Muhammad, who is the first perfect being in the universe. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad being the second perfect, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan being the third perfect being. And then those who submit their will and line their minds up with their mind and follow what they ask them to do, those beings too will become perfect. So Jesus said, be perfect even as mean equal to, as I am perfect. So, the Jesus or the Christ figure in the Bible, now we know Jesus 2,000 years ago was not perfect. So it had to be talking about a future Jesus or a future Christ. Jesus 2,000 years ago was not perfect because he was murdered. How can you be perfect if your enemies murder you? He did not. Jesus 2,000 years ago, he did not overcome his enemies. His enemies overcame him.
That's right.
Remember, that man died as a result of police brutality.
Oh,
Back then, the Romans, the soldiers were also the police force. It wasn't like it is today, where you have a military and then you had a police unit, different police. So the soldiers were the police. And so Jesus of 2,000 years ago He's just like our brothers and sisters, like Sandra Bland or uh, Tamir Rice or George Floyd. He died as a result of police brutality. Naturally, white folks would have said justifiable homicide, that they were justified in killing him. And that's something that we don't think of. Jesus, he died as a result of police brutality, the same way many of our people died. And so the police force, this modern day police force, they came originally from slave catchers. So that's the origin of the modern police force. And what are they doing today? It's basically the same function when it comes to black people. You know, they still have that slave catching mentality. So when we look at the God, his function is to regulate, control, grow, nurture the universe and help bring about a state of peace and perfection, because where you have no peace, you have no perfection. You can't have perfection unless you have peace. So Master Farad Muhammad, he stated as point number 12 because it's 12 inches in a ruler. And that's one of the reasons why we're still on the old English system. It's 12 inches in a ruler. Master Farad Muhammad, he's the ultimate ruler of the, excuse me, of the universe. And I yield.
Yes, sir. All right. Now, I'm going to give you, brothers and sisters, a little definition, further explaining what these beautiful brothers so eloquently put. In mathematics, a function is a relation where each input from a set, the domain or root, is assigned to exactly one output from another set, the codomain, meaning each input value corresponds to only one output value, which is Allah. Question for the LTS team. Brother Lukman, you will start off. You can only serve one God at a time. Either you serve Satan or Allah. Which output is this world using?
Before I address that, could I address the concept of a function just to clear in case anyone
Yes.
might have a difficulty under because we're not using the math, we're not using equations and whatnot. Um, for example, we can kind of do this in our head, and we've done this in the past. If you have an equation like circumference equals pi times diameter,
Mhm.
okay, and we know that the diameter of the Earth is 7,926 miles, then once we plug that number into that equation, the output the output would be what? What's the circumference of the planet Earth? Be 24,896 miles, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all the function is saying is if I plug in 7,926 miles, I'm not going to get different answers. A function is one input and only one output. That's all it's saying. Just so that we kind of, for those that might not understand fully what a function really is, you can't plug a number in and then get out something different. And I think that's part of the reason why the world is in the state that it's in right now, because you keep plugging in, you keep changing the answers.
Mm, yes, sir.
This world is changing the answers. But I want to digress for just a split second. It was something that Brother James had said, and it just triggered a thought. With regard going back to our function, is it possible? Is it possible when you look at our lessons, it says Yaqub was born with a determined idea, correct?
Yes.
So if Yaqub in Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2 was born with a determined idea, it makes sense to me that he's not the one that determined the idea.
Mm,
So if he was born with a determined idea, someone else put that idea there. Does that make sense?
yes, sir.
Yes.
And he learned what his function was by playing with two pieces of steel.
Go ahead.
Now, when you look at the word play in Arabic, the word play in Arabic means when you learn something with enthusiasm.
Mm.
So, like we're speaking about mathematics and science, we're doing it with enthusiasm. So, in a way, Brother Ibrahim is providing us a environment where we can play with physics and play with quantum particles, and we can play with medical concepts. But it's not playing from the perspective of children playing, it's learning with enthusiasm. And I say that because it drives home another important point. If Yaqub was born with a determined idea that he was going to do a mighty work that would last for thousands of years after him, because we're still speaking about Yaqub, who's to say that Allah did not place a predetermined idea in each and every one of us? But in order for us to come in contact with our function, we have to start playing with the universe. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I just wanted to say that one part.
Yes, sir. You want me to go back to the question, family?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can only serve one God at a time. Either
Mhm.
you serve Satan or Allah. Which output is this world using?
It reminds me of the book of Matthew, chapter 6, where it says, your eye has to be single. You can't serve God and mammon at the same time. When you look at this world will skew the answers, even though the input is placed in there, it will change the output to suit whatever it is it wants to accomplish, whether it's deceptive, an outright lie, or whatever it can do to further rob and steal from the people. This world doesn't operate based on a level of mathematics. Some people say numbers don't lie. Well, I remember when I was doing white collar crime back in college. And unfortunately, out of a whole semester of class, I only remember one quote. I don't even remember the name of the professor. But the one quote I remembered had to deal with statistics. And the quote was, statistics are like a bikini. It's funny, but that's the only thing I remember from a whole semester of class. Statistics are like a bikini. They reveal what's interesting, but they conceal what's vital.
Oh,
Mm.
In other words,
point.
numbers can be used to deceive, especially if you're speaking to individuals that are ignorant of mathematics. And I think that's another reason why they have kept us away from mathematics and science and physics, because then they can speak about all these things taking place in the universe. But if you have an understanding of the mathematics, you say, well, that's not really adding up.
Mhm.
And I think that's how the mathematics and the functions in the mind of this world is keeping us ignorant, because he's keeping us ignorant of the mathematics and the functions.
Yes, sir.
You,
Sir, praise be to Allah. Did you yield or you still had more to say, sir?
oh, I yield, sir.
Uh, Brother Dr. Wadud, you want me to repeat the question, sir?
No, sir. Um, you can only serve one God at a time. Either you serve Satan or Allah. Which
Mhm.
output is this world using? And if I may, I'm going to combine my answer to the next question, which I know is coming. Who is the codomain of a function as well?
Yes, sir.
So, my single answer to those two questions and sub questions Our teachings through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have brought us to now know that there is only one reality, which is Allah. And I remember hearing that statement first from our brother Aaron. May Allah be pleased with him. The minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, pointed out how powerful Allah is, that his plan is over the plan of the enemy, such that even the devil's plans work to serve the ultimate outcome that Allah intends. In the overall picture, like what we talked about earlier with the EKG and the segments along the way, the outcome is Allah's will. The time increments of the big picture is where I and we as individuals have choice to say, I will serve Allah by doing whatever this world in the 6,000 year increment or vacuum of time allows me to get away with through following Satan's ways, which still ultimately serve Allah anyway. But in that direction, it's to my own detriment. Or I have the choice to serve Allah through striving to live rightly. That if Allah blesses me or us, any of us, our service will allow us to avoid the painful chastisement that is promised for those who do not serve Allah in a righteous way, but serve Allah through following the machinations and mechanisms of Satan. Either way, we're still serving Allah, but the outcome will either be, as I used to talk to my children when they were very small, your actions will either give you a consequence that you may not want, or it could ultimately give you a benefit if you make the right decisions and choices. So that's my comment, and I yield.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That was brilliant. Brother James, would you like me to read the question, sir?
Yes, please.
You can only serve one God at a time. Either you serve Satan or Allah. Which output is this world using?
Well, this current world is using the output where it's serving Satan. That's why Allah is destroying this world. He's bringing this world to naught because this is a world that if it would be allowed to live, it would destroy our people. So Allah, out of His love for the people and out of a sense of justice, so in the Holy Quran it says, "My Lord enjoins unto me justice." The Honorable Elijah Muhammad describes justice as fair dealing one with another. This is a world that has gone mad, and it's taken everything and everyone with it that it can. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about how the white man is standing outside your door with nuclear weapons, talk about how many times he could destroy the earth. I could destroy the earth 3 times over. The messenger said, yeah, if you gave him a chance to do it. He said, but Allah never give him a chance to do that. Say he'll be taken off the earth before the earth is destroyed. So this is a world that is contrary to peace, is contrary to justice, is contrary to freedom, is contrary to equality. You know, the things that represent the universe, the flag of Islam, the sun, the moon, and the stars. This world is contrary to all of that. And this white man has built a contrary world, and he's built it with lies. And some of our people have been so duped. I mean, all of our people were duped at one time, me included. Everybody was. We were all duped.
That's right.
And he had made it such to we believe false was true. I mean, we would like believing in Santa Claus more or less. Even those people who are Christians, Christianity is not a bad name, although Jesus never taught it. Not a bad name. If you look, how can a person believe that a wooden cross is going to outlast the sun, the moon, and the stars? I mean, when you just sit down and think, say, How could we have ever been so stupid? How could we have ever fallen for all the tricks that this man used on us? You know, he had us in a Santa Claus story. Did you know Christmas was illegal in America
Yes,
until a couple of 100 years ago?
1850.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Christmas was illegal. You went to jail.
That's right.
And now it's a big old holiday. You know, and the people who pushed Christmas, those are the ones who don't believe in it, the Jews. They're the ones who make merchandise and make money off of Christmas. I worked in California at one point in this furniture store, and the guy who owned the store, he was an old Jewish man. We became really tight. You know, he taught me a lot of stuff, and he grew up in Utah. And he talked about when they grew up in Utah, they made the bulk of their money during Christmas. He said because they had a bunch of Christmas tree lots and things going, and they had people out selling things for Christmas. And his brother at that time eventually became the head of the Utah Bar Association. So his brother pretended to be a Muslim, but when he got home in the privacy of his home, he practiced Judaism. And these are the type of people who rule. And when I first came to the store, this man would ask me a lot of questions about, he knew I was Nation of Islam. He'd ask a lot of questions about Minister Farrakhan. And I wouldn't back down and, you know, I'd answer the questions truthfully. And then after a series, the man started giving me gold every day. Not every day. You know, he'd see me, ask me a few questions. I answered the questions. He'd give me gold. A week later, he asked me more questions. He'd give me gold. Another week or two, he'd give me gold. And then he finally came clean. You know, this dude was 72 at the time, super rich. And he said, James, he said, you know, he said, let's talk. He said, hey, I see you really about this. He said, if Farrakhan was a Jew, all my people would be following Farrakhan. He said, Farrakhan is telling the truth. He said, but we can't go out there and tell people that. He said, but we as Jewish people, we know Farrakhan is telling the truth. And if Farrakhan was a Jew, all the Jews would be following Farrakhan. He said, we know that black people are the real people of God. And we know that black people eventually are going to end up running this thing. Say, we know that. We're not stupid. He said, but we can't just go out and tell people that. He said, because, hey, black people will be up overnight if we didn't hold them back. So, you know, that's the thing with this world. The people who rule this world, they know who Minister Farrakhan is. They know who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is. They know who Master Farad Muhammad is. And they know the believers. They're not ignorant to the believers.
Yes, sir.
They know that the believers are going to end up ruling. And eventually, when Pharaoh left, excuse me, not Pharaoh, when Moses left Egypt land with a mixed multitude of people. You know, some of Pharaoh's people left with Moses because they believed in Moses and the God of Moses. It's going to be some white people it's a lot of white people who believe in Minister Farrakhan. And that was the fear of the government. They said, hey, if we let Farrakhan just teach the way he wants to teach and don't oppose him, he'll have everybody believing in him. So, yeah, they know what the truth is. And I yield.
Yes, sir. Okay. Um, we're going to open up right now for the believers to come forward. And if you have a question, you can put it in the chat and we will pick and choose from those questions. And if you want time to think about it, you can. I got a few statements I'm going to make in that process. So if there's a question you want to ask about something specific in regards to the subject matter, which is problem number 13, that's what this originally we started last week, and this continued, which was part 2 this evening. Um, so if anyone's hands comes up, if I see any hands, we'll answer the question. But I will go on and make a few statements. Now, one of the things that I want people to look at and to understand is that we're dealing with something here. Um, Allah is the larger set. Allah is everything in this universe. He's the only thing that is real. And Allah is the larger set that contains all the values that the functions, the outputs could possibly become. They all depend on Allah. They need Allah knowingly and unknowingly. Some are aware, some are not aware. It's like the baby that's there and is not really paying attention, but mommy's guiding the baby, protecting the baby, and providing for the baby the whole time. Footprints in the sand, that's a scripture where the whole time didn't know, complaining, but Allah was caring the whole time. Allah is there for us, people. So we didn't see any questions. So if that's the case, we're going to keep going with the show. And it's a LTS question. Brother Lukman, what would the believers, the values that are never actually reached by any output from the domain, which is Allah?
Repeat that question, brother.
What would make the believers, the values that are never actually reached by any output from the domain, and Allah being the domain?
Believers aren't studying.
Hmm.
Believers aren't studying. Um, I'm going to address it maybe like this. If we were to say, okay, I'll say it like this. I'm going to use a mathematical concept, but I want to make it applicable to the believers. Every operation in mathematics, there's an inverse operation. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I say 12, if I say 4 times 3, that equals 12, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now if I start with 12 and I say 12 divided by 4 equals 3, or 12 divided by 3 equals 4. If I do the inverse operation, it'll bring me right back to where I started from, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Now, we have to study the teaching of the Most High Elijah Muhammad,
Yes, sir.
and we have to study the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
And the reason why it's so important as believers, and I'm not saying that I'm at that level yet. When I'm saying this, I'm including myself in that. We have to know the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad so well, and we have to study the minister's words in such depth that we should be able to perform the inverse operation. What does that mean? Every time we hear the minister speak, and we know that he is the best student, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We should know the teaching so well that when the ministers speak, we should know what book he's speaking from. What
Yes.
lesson is he speaking from? If he's doing the mathematics, okay, he says Allah is a scientist who speaks in the language of formulae. He says the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a second scientist who looked into the formulae and broke it down. Then he referred to himself on 3 occasions. He referred to himself from the perspective of breaking down the complex truths so that even a fool will find it hard to make a mistake. But when the minister spoke at the farm in 2007, he referred to himself as the third scientist.
Third scientist.
Okay. Which means when we study the minister's words, we should be able to look into what he's saying and say that rule, that law, or that principle is found in Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, question number 3.
That's right. Good point.
We should be able to do the inverse operation and say, oh, he's talking about Message to the Black Man, page number 9.
Yes, sir.
And the reason why we have to be so well versed in the teachings that we can do the inverse operation, uh, brother Wadu will probably understand it like this, because he used the word derivative before. And when you do the derivative, the inverse operation is called an integral. And so what happens is you start with a function, you extract the derivative. That's called differentiation. Differentiation is a mathematical operation which allows you to take one function that's not changing and understand past, present, and future. And it's not a coincidence that the word differentiation in Arabic is furqan.
Mm.
And
Teach.
then when you get the derivative, and it's interesting, the word derivative, if you do the word clearing from the Dianetics, the word derivative comes from de rivere, which means from the river. Like
Mm.
taking something from the river, extracting it from a river, derivative. When you know how to do an integral, when someone gives you a derivative, you can understand how to calculate where they started from. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Identify the point of origin of what was the original function you were studying in order to extract that derivative. The reason why that is so important, and this is just my belief, my opinion. When the minister departs and we see videos coming up of the minister, how would we know which videos are authentic and which ones are AI generated?
Mm.
Good
In
point.
other words, are we going to be like the 85%? They see it rain, hail, snow. They also hear thunder above their head, but they do not allow the 5% to teach them because they believe in the 10% on face value. That's
Face
Lost
value.
Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 9.
Mathematics.
Are we going to be 10%? Are we going to be 85% 5%ers? Are we going to be some face value Muslims where
Mm.
we're going to see videos coming up on YouTube, but we're not studying? So then we see the minister make a statement that is as wrong as two left shoes. And because it's coming out of the minister's mouth, we're not going to question, is that an authentic video
Or AI
or is
generated.
that AI generated? Do those that are studied could say no, because I have that DVD and that's not what the minister said. This is what he said. We have to be so well versed in the teachings that when the minister departs and we see certain things as students, it reminds me of Revelation number 12, where it said the earth swallowed the flood. Yes,
Yes.
but I believe the minister he gave the meaning to that was that the believers would have to be able to swallow the propaganda.
Yes. That's what Brother Jarrell says.
Brother
Also.
Jabril said it. Okay,
Yes.
so the minister is the code. He is in the set of the codomain of the domain. He's in that set. We want to make sure we're in that codomain with him as students, but we're only going to be there by being studious.
That's right.
We have to study. And I want to make this one last point with regards to studying. Um, I see this taking place with regards to the tech, and we have the extension courses, and we have these lessons that we do. You fill them out, you mail them in, and that's great. Each one of us as believers should be doing the same thing with Message to the Black Man, Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived. We should be forming our own study guides to reinforce our own understanding of what the Most High Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan has given us.
Yes, sir.
We have to become experts in the teachings
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
because I if I was a betting man, but I'm too cheap. I ain't giving up nothing for free. But if I was a betting man, I would bet my last dollar that either they have already started doing that, or when the minister departs, they're going to start confusing the masses with AI generated videos of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and they might go as far as doing AI generated videos of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
And that's going to cause a whole nother war taking place. That's going to be a whole Yakub thing going on of causing the righteous people to fight and kill one another because some are studious and some are not. And I yield.
All praises due to Allah. Wow, that was phenomenal.
Yes, sir, it
Uh,
was.
Due to the sensitivity of time, we're going to roll to the next question, and I pose this one to you, brother Dr. Wadud, and it is, what is the purpose of people being in the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. Um, on individual levels, the Nation of Islam, metaphorically identified as a hospital, is a place where we who have been made ill by being mathematically brought to a state of existence, but not living. And I'm gonna quickly try to differentiate the difference between existence and living, inshallah.
Go ahead, brother.
So those of us who have been brought mathematically to a state of existence but not living, in the Nation of Islam, we can find the solution to the mathematics used against us, that inverse that Brother Lukeman just talked about, in order to reverse our state from existence to actually living. What I mean is, we carry out physical processes. We eat, we sleep, we defecate, and whatever other biological necessities. In essence, I see where living organisms thrive or live, not just exist. There is exponential growth of bacteria, for instance, when placed in a suitable growth medium or agar gel in the laboratory. A virus like influenza will use the infected host cellular components to thrive, to live within that person, and spread within that person, and if able, exit that person to enter another person and to keep on thriving in this next person that they may be able to inoculate or enter into. As humans, we see other communities of people thriving or living beyond mere existing. They have designed the system where their existence of eating, sleeping, and defecating is maximized into living. They get paid vacation time. They get spring break trips to exotic or their ancestral homeland of Europe. They go scuba diving. And all of this is carried out in the face of us who just exist or survive to see another day. The mathematics system is constructed as a this system is constructed as a hand to mouth system for us who just exist. They offer enough so-called education, but really it was just training for us to be able to do or function in some menial job they didn't want to do, as it was an existence or subsistence level job. The Nation of Islam offers people, in my opinion, the opportunity of becoming aware of mathematics so that we can see reality based on valid calculations for what is actually the truth. And then with the mathematical theology, secure some thriving life and living, not just existing in the physical demands of the organism we identify as a body. I yield.
Yes, sir. Brother
Wow.
Jerry, that was
Yeah,
beautiful.
I like that. I like both answers. One Brother Lukman gave and Brother Dr. Wadu. When Brother Dr. Wadu mentioned, you know, just surviving, my mind immediately went to the 16th chapter of Ezekiel, where it says, you know, is talk about the phrase the baby that was polluted in its own blood. And it refers to the passage Ezekiel 16:6, where the prophet describes the nation of Israel as a newborn infant abandoned in the open field, walling in its own blood. This powerful metaphor represents Israel's helplessness, destitute, and hopeless state before God's intervention and covenant. God pauses by finding the infant and says, "Live," signifying by his decision to save and care for, excuse me, the, the baby. Because we weren't living until Master Farad Muhammad came. You know, we're polluted in our own blood. We're still, you know, as a people overall, polluted in our own blood. But he passed by and said, "Live." And he's the one who's giving us life and a new life. That's why Jesus said, "Come to give you life and life more abundantly." So, you know, it's something to see the condition and the change that's taken place among us in these last basically 95 years so far. And then the change is getting ready to accelerate. It's just an object falling to the earth. As it gets closer to the earth, it increases with gravity pulling on it. It increases the speed, the rate of its fall. We see this world is falling completely. And as this world completely falls, we know two things can't occupy the same place at the same time. If one world goes out, a new world coming in. Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, a rising force breaks apart and destroys a falling force. And as the nation of Islam rises, this Western world particularly will fall. So Allah, God wants us to study. And Brother Lukman, when he was talking about most of us don't study, it's really a shame that how are we going to face ourselves and face our children, face the believers, and especially they say, well, hold it, dad or mom, you've been in this thing for all these years and we didn't know this and we didn't know that. And say, well, hold it, you know, Master Farad Muhammad, he only came 100 years ago. You know, how is it that we don't really strive after the teaching? But if it's something we really desire, we can get it. Often, I'll try to study with different believers out here. And I have sometimes times that I set aside because if any believer, if they call and say, brother, I want to study with you, I say, just come by, pick me up. We'll go to Starbucks. We'll sit down and study. And, some of them will make appointments and then they don't show up. They'll miss 3 or 4 appointments. Oh, brother, I couldn't make it. I just look at them. Then after a while, I don't even waste my time with them anymore. So I'm like, hey, time is valuable. And anytime a believer is taking time out of his or her schedule to help you study something that you don't know, why would you hold that believer up repeatedly? But that's the mindset that our people have, because deep down inside, this information to many of the people who consider themselves believers is not important. And then even sometimes they'll show up. It's like, if we're here to study, why would you show up with no books? Why would you show up with no pencil or ink pen? Nothing to write down on. Hey, I'm not here. I didn't come here to try to teach you. I came so we can collectively study together, because you think you're just learning from me. I'm trying to learn from you too.
Yes, sir.
And that's, we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. It's like, hey, if a person takes time out of their busy schedule and they specifically set that time aside for you. You make it. You do whatever you can. So I get believe it's 3 4 times don't show up. Just like uh, earlier today when you had contacted me, Brother Ibrahim, and I told him, I said, brother, I'm sick, but hey, I'll make it. I said, it's only a couple of hours. I said, my mind is geared up. We meet once a week. Even if I'm sick, I will show up. And that's out of respect for the group and respect for the people and respect for the teachings. If we don't respect the teachings, how are we going to respect each other? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he's the foundation of our teachings. We have to learn to respect each other. And as we respect each other, we grow more in love with each other, because that's what it's about. The foundation of the universe is love. And we'll grow more in love with each other as we grow more in love with the teachings, because it helps us understand something about ourselves and something about the God. That's why it says, how can you love God that you have never seen and hate your brother or sister that you see every day?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's something I wanted to say, and I yield.
Yes, sir. And we appreciate that. Okay, family. We're going to go into some definitions and some other words, and I pray to Allah that you have your pens, your pads, your phones, your tablets, and you're able to take this information down. We're dealing with the definition of resurrection. The concept of resurrection stems from a value that is dying and can only be revived by the real value, which is Allah. Minister Louis Farrakhan said, resurrection is suffering at the hands of your enemies without what appears to be death. For human suffering, it reduces you down to zero. On a physical level, it reduces us to the least common denominator. It reverts you back to the base components. That element that is left are the base components of human makeup, of the physical body. Spiritual level first, origination of God. The first God was physically made of an atom of water and an atom of electricity and an atom of the earth. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said on page 146, if our Savior has arrived, to resurrect on a spiritual level is the quickening spirit. How you quicken a spirit is by increasing the frequency or the knowledge of that individual. I pray that you receive that. The LTS team, Brother Lukman, Surah 75, Resurrection.
Well, this is a good one. Surah 75 is the surah that the minister makes a reference to in study guide number 9, our intimate relationship with Rabbil Alameen. And in that, it is in agreement with the minister when he talks about 3 levels of growth and development: animal, human, and divine, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In the introduction and in the first footnote of that surah, it makes reference to the 3 stages with regards to the word nafs. You have nafs amara, you have nafs lawama, and you have nafs mutmainna. In each one of those areas, the word nafs is the Arabic word for mind, soul, and spirit. The word amara actually is referring to something that is inside that is like a compulsion. So the nafs amara of the Holy Quran is the reactive mind of the tech. That's where there's one level of agreement. So when you read study guide number 9 and you read about the 3 levels, it is 100% in agreement with the tech of Dianetics, deals with the 3 levels of the mind. In the resurrection, it's talking about the importance of the nafs lawama, which is the self-accusing spirit. And that self-accusing spirit is that voice within. That's the voice of Allah within that guides us in the direction that we need to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And when we have that nafs lawama, that's kind of, we could say, that's where the jihad begins. Okay, that's when the internal jihad, that's when the internal war is taking place now. Because when we're in our reactive mind, there is no war. Because we fall right in line with whatever my body asks me to do, that's what I do. There's no war. The self-accusing spirit, the nafs lawama, that's now the war where some days we win and some days we lose. And I used to always say that every day that I'm blessed to wake up is another day to play chess with Allah. Because really, we're in God's universe and we are in school, and He allows things to come into our life. If we are believers, then these things that come into our life are not designed to break us. They're really designed to make us stronger. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's like an individual that teaches a child how to play chess. You're not making things difficult for the child to crush their spirit so that they stop playing chess, but you're not going to make it easy either, because if you let the child win, then the child goes out thinking that they know how to play chess until they play someone who really knows how to play chess, and they come home crying because they're not what they thought they were. So you put pressure on that child not to break their spirit, but to make them more aware, to make them more cautious, to get them to study tactics, to study strategy. You're hard on the chess student, the child, because you want to make them a strong chess player. That's the way I look at Allah with regards to why trials come in our life and why certain people come into our life. Some people act like rooks, some people act like knights, some people act like bishops. Bishops come from an angle where rooks will come head on. Some people do that. They'll hit you from the side and you didn't even expect them to do that because you thought, this is my homeboy and you hit me from an angle. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, but it's Allah who's really maneuvering the people in our life to make us better people. That's part of the resurrection. The resurrection isn't abracadabra and everything's, it's peaches and cream and everything is smooth. No, resurrection is difficult. It's pain. It's suffering. I remember hearing the quote that it says, everyone wants to go to heaven, but they don't want to go through hell to get there. And the minister said, everyone wants the crown, but they don't want to carry the cross. We can't have one without the other. So that resurrection, from the standpoint of our Islam, we get that through our study guides. But the introduction of the tech of Dianetics into our life is a necessary component because that removes the niggerdom from us that is disallowing us to do the study that we're supposed to be doing. And that is not based on anything that is our fault. Our brain has we have come across so many ministers, nurses, cremators, and what's the other one? Minister, the nurse, and the doctor. We've come across so many of those laborers in our life, and we've had a lot of nurses that have stuck a lot of needles in our brain. And that's why we're aberrated as hell right now.
Yes, sir.
But we get this tech in, and we remove that dross, that rust from the locks that we have. And that is when we will begin to go through the process of resurrection. It's not going to work by us just quoting the self-improvement study guides. We got to be able to manifest them. We gotta become the study guides.
Yes, sir.
And I yield.
Yes, sir. Uh, Thank you, sir, for that. Brilliant. Brother Dr. Wadud.
Yes, sir. So resurrection, the concept of resurrection stemming from a value that is dying and can only be revived by the real value, Allah. That to me rings as such a true statement that from the aspect of being a physician, we resuscitate an individual that may have undergone, let's say, cardiac arrest. but we do not resurrect that individual. In a resuscitation effort, I may be performing CPR, I may be delivering ventilatory oxygen into their lungs while performing CPR, and they may come back, they may resuscitate, but I did not resurrect them. Only Allah can resurrect. And I think of resurrect from the vantage point of my electrical background in the definition given here of spiritual, the physical, made of an atom of water, an atom of electricity, and an atom of earth. In that, to resurrect and reinvigorate organic matter from an electrical standpoint and a chemical standpoint, if we look at the water molecule, there's what's called a dipole moment, meaning that that water molecule, as many may already know, is made of 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Well, that 1 oxygen has so much pull upon the components of the hydrogen that it pulls the hydrogen's electrons closer to itself, the oxygen does. And in that moment of pulling those electrons of the hydrogen closer, that's considered a dipole, where the oxygen is more negative. And because it's pulled those electrons, those hydrogens are now more positive. And in that moment, you get a gradient of separated charges. So an atom of electricity, it's interesting that physical electricity is different from inorganic metal electricity. So in physical electricity, the entire atom, the protons, neutrons, and the electrons. So you have a sodium atom or you have a potassium atom, and their movements are what creates the electricity in the body. Whereas with inorganic metal electricity, it's just the flow of the electrons from an atom of copper or metal, aluminum, etc. So to resuscitate and cause that generation of energy, of electricity, that's in the purview of the Almighty, who in his own origination recognized that dynamic and brought himself out of that darkness into existence with that spark of light that the originator saw. He saw a spark of light in the darkness. The dynamics of that, as I made study of this particular question, what's the word I'm looking for, Brother Lukeman, when you have an epiphany moment in Dianetics?
Cognition.
Say again?
Cognition.
A cognition. A cognition that I had about that was the originator put things in motion, and in the teachings I saw it later, where the universal law of replication and reproduction, he set it in motion to where it does not exactly mimic his own creation. It's only similar because it takes 2 in the law of replication as has been set forth in nature now, whereas he being self-created, but it was so far back in the antiquity of time, 78 trillion years ago, that exact identification of what happened, we can't trace it back that far. We can't find that information. And in my own estimation, that was from his design, that there will never be, and I believe we talked about it in other platforms where Sister Ava, may Allah be pleased with her, said that the originator made creation such that he would always be the unique one of creation. And I'm paraphrasing it as best I can remember, but none will ever be able to duplicate what he originated because it's been lost to the times of iniquity, antiquity, I should say, and we can't fully uncover those dynamics. But that's what I would have to say about resurrection.
You yield?
And I yield.
Yes, sir. Brother James, do you know the question? Surah 75, resurrection?
What is the question?
Surah 75, resurrection.
Okay, and what about resurrection? Exactly.
Well, that you give your perception of what do you think and how do you correlate to where we are and what we spoke about today in regards to Surah 75, resurrection.
Okay. Yeah, resurrection is a process of coming back from the dead. And like Dr. Wadu say, recitation and resurrection are not the same thing, because with recitation, life is there. With resurrection, life has totally been eradicated. And it's a very unique process. And the only one who has the power to resurrect is God himself. And God has made it, God or Allah has made resurrection so vital that it can only be done with the word. And so in the scriptures, in the beginning was the word. So if everything started off as a word, and you can only use a word to describe another word, so the root of the resurrection, if you find the root of words, you can find the root of resurrection, not the word resurrection, but of the principle of resurrection, because it's contained in the word of God. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, and the word became flesh. That's to show that even in that process, something preceded flesh. You know, we say the spirit or whatever, but it was something, and then something became flesh after a while. So the unseen preceded the seen, not the unreal, because even in that state, God was real, even though he was not seen at the moment. So resurrection is contained inside of the word. And it's not a coincidence that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed in 1975, because the resurrection doesn't take place until death occurs. You can't have resurrection if you've never had death. And so people thought the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was dead, and he appeared to be on the surface to those who really didn't know. And then as we got the actual facts of what really happened with him, to find out the resurrection process that he himself would have to go through, it was a sign that the nation would have to go through a resurrection process, because the nation was dead. The messenger, he came and taught us for 44 years, you know, from 1931 to 1975. Then he had to take his leave because he had to go and do more studying. But we know he could not have been dead, because when they said that he was dead in the book, and why would they put a guard on the tomb and put a stone, first put a stone up to the tomb, the entry of the tomb or the cave, and then put a guard there. And when they came, they said the guard had went to sleep and the body of Jesus was gone. And when they took the body originally, you know, after the crucifixion, they turned the body of Jesus over to a man in the scripture who was called Joseph of Arimathea. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, look at the word Arimathea. What word did
Arm, you there, brother?
is, if you look up the word Joseph of Arimathea and look at, so hold it, that's arithmetic. That's to show the mathematics behind that, because Islam is mathematics, and they turn the body over to Joseph of Arimathea. And so right now, when the minister leave, what will be done? The body of information and the body of knowledge that he's been building on, which is the body of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that'll be turned over to the believers, but in a mathematical way. The body will be turned over to Joseph of Arimathea again, but a different Joseph of Arimathea. Those are the individual believers on this side, on this dispensation, to see who will be duped and who will follow with the teachings. And, one thing I like what Brother Lukman said, a lot of things are going to be AI generated to try to mislead us, to try to mislead the believers. They said, but the earth swallowed up the lies, basically.
Yes, sir.
Because they're coming with some crap. They already got it prepared. And the Brother Jabril used to always say, he said, it's only two stones the enemy can throw. He said, one is the domestic life, and the second stone is the death plot. He said, other than that, they ain't got no other stones to throw. They'll try to make you believe the messenger is dead, and they'll try to make us believe the minister Farrakhan is dead, and then they'll bring up the domestic life. They don't have any other stones. They've been throwing this one stone recently, to where you have some people in the nation even question whether or not the phony Master Farad Muhammad is real.
Mm-hmm.
With the picture that was out. And so I had sent some things out recently last week to a lot of people know, hey, man, the messenger said this man is a phony. So what is it to even discuss on this?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But that shows if a person comes back and say, well, I don't know, what, you a hypocrite? If the messenger say this man is a phony, that should be the end of the discussion right there.
That's right.
But many of the believers, we don't study. Well, I take that back. Many who claim to be believers don't study. And then what is your explanation going to be? Well, hell, you only had 100 years to study it. Master Prophet Muhammad made himself known in 1930. You had 100 years to get with this. I mean, all of us are deficient. Me included. I'm very deficient in what I should know. So all of us are deficient in what we should know. But some of us are beyond deficient to where we don't even study. You get some people in the nation. Could you imagine being in the nation for 6 years? You never read Message to the Black Man?
Wow.
But you've been in the nation 6 years and you've never read Message to the Black Man. It's like, what are you here for? You imagine you try to work with some of the believers and they don't want to study anything. Well, just tell me, well, why in the hell would I tell you? Let's get the books and we'll go into it together because we'll each find new meaning. Well, can you just tell me what it means? No, I could tell you what it means, but it's only from my limited perspective. Allah is the only one who knows the true meaning of all of it.
Yes, sir.
We're guessing.
That's right.
We're guessing. It may be a good guess, but hell, we're still guessing. That's why it's incumbent upon every believer to study. Would a person take and just leave their wallet sitting on the ground full of money? No, they wouldn't. These teachings are more valuable than your wallet if you really understand. With the teachings, you will get luxury money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life upon submission.
Yes, sir.
We want these things, but we don't want to submit to get it. We want luxury, we want money, we want good homes, but we want to be a nigga. I want to be a nigga. I want to go party and I want to do this, but I still want the blessings that's promised. No, those blessings are promised upon submission. Remember, what did Yaqub promise his people? Islam on what? A luxury basis. And that's what a lot of us are looking for right now in the nation. We want Islam, but we want it on a luxury basis. We don't want to have to study to get it. We don't want to sacrifice. Uh-uh. Excuse me. You got a price to pay.
10 seconds, Brother James.
Yes, sir. I yield.
Okay.
Brother Ibrahim, can I make a real quick statement?
Yes.
I'll make it real quick, 60 seconds. There's an ayat in the Holy Quran that I believe bears witness to what Brother James just said. It's Surah 57, ayat number 13. I'm going to read it real quick, but I'm not going to go into it. But now I am not saying that individuals that don't study are hypocrites. I'm just using this as a principle to illustrate what Brother James was saying. It says, on the day when the hypocrites, men and women, will say to those who believe, wait for us that we may borrow from your light. It will be said, turn back and seek a light, and then a wall with a door in it will be raised between them. Within it shall be mercy, and outside of it, chastisement.
Yes,
And the
sir.
way I perceive that in my kindergarten understanding is you have a group of believers that are studying and some that are not. And those that are not, as Brother James was saying, they're trying to borrow light from the other believers. Like, no, you have to get this for yourself and get this understanding for yourself. You can't borrow my understanding. You got to get your own.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. May I say something real quick on
What
that?
I feel is trying to ask a question.
Uh,
Yeah. Because can I just say real quick on what Brother Lukman said? It's the same thing that's found in the Bible. The 10 virgins, the 5 with oil and the 5 without oil. It's the same story right there.
Exactly.
And
yes,
I yield.
yes, sir. Brother Philip, are you there, sir?
I
Brother
just
Philip,
wanted to, yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Blake Salam.
Walaikum salam.
Happy Holy Day of Atonement. I just want to make a quick statement to sum up what Brother Lukman and Brother James and Brother
Dr. Wadud.
Dr. Wadu have stated. It's a hadith or a saying of the Prophet. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. One learned man is harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant worshipers. I
Yes,
think
sir.
the majority of us are just ignorant worshipers. That's all I have to say. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Salam.
Walaikum salam.
Sister Judy?
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Can I be heard?
Yes, Sister
Yes,
Judy.
ma'am.
Second.
I just have a question. I was listening to Brother Dr. Wadu's comments about the, talking about the originator in that first creation and the uniqueness of it. I don't know, maybe I don't know if I understood it you correctly, brother. You were sort of implying that there was no agency of a woman involved in that. Is that how I understood it, your remarks?
Yes, ma'am. That the first germ, to my understanding, and this is only my own understanding. If there's other sources that are valid that offers a different interpretation, I'm fully open to be corrected. But it's my understanding that the original germ of life, and I took it from the lecture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, The Origin of Blackness from 2001, where the germ of life in the triple darkness of space saw a spark of light, and that germ of life then rotated around itself, and that began the process of Allah's self-creation.
Well, oh, yes, sir. And I'm familiar with that lecture. I think, let me just cut to the chase. I was just wondering how that aligns with what we're taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that as far back as the man was the woman.
So the teachings say that Allah, the originator, saw within himself a second self. And then he went into himself and brought out of himself his second self, which was the female.
One question before that, beloved sister, excuse me. Um, Brother James has taught on that, and I want to give you, Brother James, a second to talk about the energy that was existing before the physical reality was here. With
Brother
with the
Ibrahim, we want to ask permission for time.
sir.
It's 9 o'clock.
Oh,
Oh,
uh,
time. Yeah.
we ran over. Um, uh, Brothers and sisters who are on the line, are you able to continue for another 15 minutes? If everyone is agreeing, then we will go till 9:15 so we can complete this because that's a good point, Sister Judy. And we do hear you and we're not ignoring you, beloved. But I want Brother James to share, if you guys are agreeing, to stay on board, what you have shared with me in regards to the male and the female and that energy that was present, as well as the negative and positive. Do you mind?
No, sir.
I
Okay.
don't mind.
Brother James?
Okay. The way the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it, he said at the origin of creation, everything started. He said Allah started off as a fraction of an atom and said, but he wanted to become whole. And so he pulled together 9,999 other parts that were already out there, dormant and doing nothing. There's no such thing as something that never existed. So Allah has always existed, but Don Elijah Muhammad said when he pulled together those 9,999 other parts and he gave them function and purpose. Now we know you can't have life without male and female. So those parts that Allah originally pulled together to form the 10,000 to get to the number one, those parts were male and female. Those parts that were in the darkness were male and female. That's why he said, as far back as the man goes, the woman was already there. How do you know? In order to get life, you need X and Y chromosome. So one of the arguments of some of the feminists, not saying you're a feminist sister at all, but one of the arguments some of the feminists will say, well, how do you know God isn't a woman? Well, God can't be a woman. The supreme being can't be a woman because you need X and Y. And she doesn't contain X and Y. But in the darkness, there was X and Y. And it's not a coincidence that the smallest cell in the human body is a sperm cell. And the largest cell in the human body is a female egg cell. And the egg cell just happens to be 10,000 times larger than the sperm cell. And when that sperm permeates the egg cell and meets with that ovum, the first thing it does is sets off a spark of electricity. And then it starts to rotate. But even for it to get past that, you know, the egg cell is covered, or the outer covering of the egg cell is melanin. It has to go through the melanin process. And so all of these things, as far back as you go, and after God created himself, he put a law in place that from now on that couldn't take place anymore. So he is unique, like Brother Dr. Wadu said, that uniqueness. God placed a law in place to from now on, you need male and female to be able to produce life. But that first life, it did contain male and female.
Yes, sir.
And any other questions on that, or?
Okay,
No, sir.
fantastic.
Thank you, Brother James.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you.
brother Dr. Wadu.
Thank you, Sister Judy. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other believer that had a question, since we now have 10 minutes left, that they would like to have answered in regards to the subject, problem number 13, that we were talking about, and dealing with the mathematics and dealing with the resurrection and the importance of the resurrection in particular, not of the physical dead, because we understand once that happens, if Allah hasn't got to you in 48 to 72 hours, we know that's not going to happen. We're talking about the mentally and spiritually dead and those who are denying. And if you have not read Surah 75, I would advise you to go read Surah 75 so that you can understand, are you in alignment with what is going to be accepted for resurrection? Will your book be handed in your right hand versus your left hand? Brother Lukman, Brother Lukman, you there, sir?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. We talking about Prop 13?
Um, we're finishing off with the resurrection. There was a last part to that I didn't say, and it's very important, and it deals with the power of name and Allah, the power of that name. And here's that explanation. The power in a name refers to the profound impact a name has on identity, influence, and spiritual authority, stemming from its connection to a person's essence, heritage, and the power attributed to divine or collective names. The name denotes your function and your nature. The name represents force and nature. And we know in the descriptive names, in particular those in Arabic, they are, as they say, godly names. They are the attributes, the 99 attributes of Allah. Um, and they have a function and they have a purpose and they represent force in nature. That was what I wanted to end with, Brother Lukman, but we still have 8 minutes left. So I wanted you to please, from the standpoint of the tech, could you speak about resurrection uh, in that format of the tech, how it correlates?
So the tech tied into resurrection.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll try to make this real brief. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the self-improvement study guides, where the minister, I want to say it was in going back to study guide number 2, I believe it was, and the reading material for study guide number 2, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made a statement saying that birth is painful for the mother, but if the baby could tell you what it went through, it would have a story to tell as well. He said, because often the baby's head is bruised and the shoulders are bruised. The baby goes through pain as well as the mother. Now, if we look at birth and resurrection and the tech, when the minister said if the baby had a story to tell, if the baby could speak, it would have a story to tell. What the tech allows to happen is it gives that baby a chance to tell their story because the tech allows us to travel back on that time track. And the things that the baby went through, the things that you and I went through, why are we crazy now as grown people? Because we were taught to be crazy when we were children. That's English lesson number C1. In other words, our resurrection in 2025 is dependent upon us traveling back to find that child and to allow that child to tell their story of what happened back then. Because we just imagine where we are present time, whatever our age is, but imagine that child who we once were, and on some levels we still are, is still stuck in that apartment at that address. Let's say that child is stuck back in time and they are in their own little hell where they're every day goes by and they are going through the same hell over and over and over again. What the tech allows us to do is to go back to that child, which is us, go back to that child and resurrect them and save them from that environment and bring them up to present time where we are now.
Yes, sir.
The reason why we're aberrated or crazy is because there's a part of us that's still back there that hasn't been resurrected.
Hmm.
And we can't go forward if we're still stuck we can't go forward if we're still stuck in the back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I hope that kind of that sums it up very, very quickly of the concept of resurrection with regards to the tech. We can't be resurrected until we forgive those from the past, but we also can't be resurrected unless we learn how to forgive ourself.
Excellent.
Mm.
Brilliant.
And I yield.
Brilliant. Sister Sharon, I see you. Your hand is up. Please, beloved, uh, let me go on and let you ask that question, family. You ready?
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir. Is it me, Sister Sharon, or the other Sister Sharon?
Sister Sharon. Who
Forex.
put their hand up? Sister Sharon Forex, right? Was it you or was other Sister Sharon? I think it
Yes,
was.
sir.
Let's do the Shin Forex.
Oh, okay.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day to you.
I just wanted to mention it was something Brother Lukman mentioned earlier concerning resurrection. But in Closing the Gap, the minister talks about resurrection on page 44. And I know it was Brother Lukman mentioned how videos or clips of the minister might be being played in AI. And we have to be able to discern what's right and what's wrong. Just just by us studying alone and taking in what it is that we're supposed to take in from our original data, not from what's being shared on social media. And we were told not to share clips of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan or anything without the express permission from our national. So that's going to save us. But on page 44, it talks about the minister talks about how the law was broken concerning the believers in the first, and how once once they started to go through what they had to go through and the law was being broken, everything just fell apart. So we have to be able to just follow instructions and, not do what it is that we want to do. And when we stay according to the law, it protects us as a mercy from Allah. And another thing I wanted to mention, Brother James talked about the spark in the darkness where the sperm meets the egg. I remember when I was in high school, they showed us a video where, Caucasians, they want to know how becoming into existence started. But they used a camera, a probe on the inside of a woman's womb. And when they showed how the sperm met with the egg, there was a spark, an actual spark in the darkness. So that just came back to my mind. I just wanted to bear witness to that and what it is that we have in the Nation of Islam.
20
But page
seconds.
44, foundation. Yes.
You can finish. You got 20 seconds.
I'm done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We're coming up on that 15-minute mark. We have to, we got the permission of all the believers, but we got to now say our prayer. I will say it in Arabic and Brother Lukman will say it in English. Position of prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah al-Rahim. Irrahmanirrahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim waladdallin. Ameen.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. the beneficent, the most merciful, master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thine aid do we seek. Please, O Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard thy teachings. Ameen.
I mean,
Assalamu alaikum, family. We love you. We appreciate you. Next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Inshallah, everybody will be nothing but love for everyone. Thank you once again.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
Alaikum.
alaikum.
Salam.